Today I saw a patient who didn't want to see me as their dentist because I was black, which caught me off guard. All right, so I walk into this room, I see this Asian lady come in, and I introduce myself. Hey, I'm Dr. MK, and I go to shake her hand as I do all my patients, and she just gave me the tips of her fingers, looked distraught. So already the appointment was off, and I was trying to figure out why. Actually, what brings her in, she says that she wants to get rid of her braces because her dentist in New Mexico is too far, and she's looking to get some Invisalign option. We just need to take off your braces to be able to scan your teeth for the Invisalign. And as soon as I said that, she was like, is there any way I can get another dentist? I'm like, well, why is that? Then she tells me in the past she had a black dentist who cut her gums. Then I told her, do you think that all black dentists cut people's gums? Is that like a recurring thing? Then she was like, no, I don't think that, but I just rather have a different dentist, not a black one. And for me, I'm never going to beg anyone to be my patient. I want my patients to want to see me specifically and want to have a black dentist. This situation made me think of my journey in becoming a dentist. And I feel like a lot of times we have to be twice as good just to be considered equivalent with everybody else. I went to PWI institutions, went to Rutgers. Rutgers was definitely a great school, but there are not a lot of us in dentistry. 3.8% of dentists are black. A lot of times when patients see me, I'm the first time they've ever seen a black doctor. So sometimes it does catch them off guard. But you would think that because I have a doctorate, because I went through all these years of school, I'm just as qualified as any other doctor. And I'm gonna say I don't have any animosity towards this lady at all, because being at the dentist is very anxious, being very vulnerable, because I have a lot of times I've had patients who had traumatic issues in the dental office and they're scared. So I get it. I can't really follow her interaction, but I think it's very important to be mindful of just because someone does one thing doesn't cancel everybody else. I think that's the biggest lesson here.
Sometimes, the people who are underestimated become the very people everyone depends on. For generations, many black doctors have had to overcome barriers that had nothing to do with their skill or dedication. Despite years of education, training, and experience, some still face doubt simply because of the color of their skin. In this story, what began with skepticism turned into a powerful reminder that talent, compassion, and professionalism are not determined by race. As the situation unfolded, many people realized that judging someone by appearance instead of ability can come with real consequences. Let's take a closer look.
If I have a black female surgeon, my first assumption will be this person had to meet lower standards because the school or the certifying board was so anxious to say we have a black female surgeon.
I remember when I was in undergrad, I remember walking out of the organic chemistry building and I had an A+ on my exam. And the person next to me was talking about how it'd be easy for me to get into med school because I'm black and they let me in easier because I don't have to get as good grades. Meanwhile, I showed him my grade, A+, he had a C-. When I went to a class with my colleagues who are medical students, we were talking about, there's something about treating your patients equally, and somehow the discussion got flipped and reverted to how it's unfair that black people get into schools easier, which was really interesting because all of my black friends, which was totally 3 of us in the entire class of something like 200 students, we had way above average grades and test scores compared to the rest of the class. So it was just very interesting. And then my first day of my fellowship in anesthesiology, because I used to be an anesthesiology resident, I was a medical student trying to shadow an anesthesiology resident, and the anesthesiology resident looked at me and said, "You're only here because of how you look." And proceeded to tell me about how he tried to get into anesthesia and how he couldn't get in because other people like me were taking up his spot. Okay? It continued from there. That really inspired me to, number 1, start my own lab because I never want to work for anyone else. Number 2, have a diverse team of women because women are the primary beneficiaries of DEI. It's not black people, we're the bottom of that list, but it's women. And I wanted to make sure that women were the driving team behind my research on the science of happiness, because we all know in order for a woman to be happy, we have to face adversity. In order for a black woman to be happy, we have to face bias as well, based on how we look. Women are just, I think, the experts in the science of happiness because we go through so much and we still find joy. Yet, when you look at the experts who are the leading thought leaders in the science of happiness, they're not women, and they're certainly not black women. I'm trying to change that.
Why are black doctors important? Well, take a look at how this doctor observes 2 people with the same condition.
This looks fake, but it's a real condition called Marcus gun-jaw winking syndrome.
Pay attention to his eye as he's chewing. As you can see, with every time he chews, his eye opens. This is called Marcus gun-jaw winking syndrome.
It's clear just by his facial expression that he thinks that the black woman is faking this condition, whereas with the white patient, he's fascinated. And her content is about food. It's not even about her condition. She just happens to have this condition. But look at how a black Nigerian American doctor approaches the exact same patient with this condition.
First of all, I love her attitude. As you can see, her left eyelid lifts every time she talks or eats. That's not everything, guys. That's real. What you're seeing is called Marcus Gunn jaw winking syndrome. And no, I did not make that up. And yeah, she was born with it.
And this is why Black doctors are important.
Would you trust these doctors with your life?
Indubitably, especially since when Black patients are treated by Black doctors, those patients experience better health and lower mortality. But also because if it wasn't for Black doctors, everybody be dead. Dr. Daniel Hale Williams performed the first successful open heart surgery in 1893. Dr. Solomon Carter Fuller translated Alzheimer's work from German to English in the early 1900s. Dr. Charles Drew discovered that it was easier to bank blood plasma than store whole blood. Dr. Jane Cook Wright discovered that you can monitor the effects of drugs on cancer cells using patient tissue instead of laboratory mice. So would I trust my life with that room full of super melanated, highly educated, often imitated, never duplicated, extra elevated room full of geniuses? The answer, an unequivocal yes.
Ooh. I had so much to say, I couldn't just write back in a comment, so I wanted to respond in the video. This comment is from a video of me dancing to the viral Tupac song. This person is saying that they're a white woman and they want to know if it's okay for them to still be seen at Lighthouse Therapy because they don't want to take away spots from Black women. So for one, I want to commend this person because that is a lot of introspection and some internal work that you're already doing to be anti-racist. The fact that you can recognize your privilege in saying, hey, I'm seeking out a Black woman clinician, but I also don't want to take away spots from a Black woman. Chef's kiss. While I am so appreciative of you asking that, I also want to remind you, as a client, it's not your responsibility in the therapeutic space to worry about whether a clinician can meet your needs or not. If a clinician cannot meet your needs, it is our responsibility to tell you that. But I will say, as the proud owner of Lighthouse Therapy and Consulting, I do not hide about my business that I am a Black woman and I support Black women and women of color with my whole heart. And I'm going to say it with my chest. And with that doesn't mean that we don't have white clients. I have several white clients that I have been seeing for years. They ain't going nowhere. I can't get rid of them if I try it. We locked into this thing forever. And it's not just me. I have 8 clinicians who work under me and we see everybody. If you would be more comfortable with a person who looks like you, we do have one white clinician and her name is Sydney. She is absolutely amazing. As always, if you have questions, drop them down below. Peace.
I was asked to give some context to my last video on why I am thanking the world for Black doctors. This is why it's hard for me to talk about because I'm still in shock about it. It's only been a few days since my medical emergency happened, and I'm still coming to grips with it, but we're going to roll with this. In a nutshell, I had to go to the urgent care complaining of chest pains and that little noticeable pain that goes down your right arm. You guessed it. So I went in, the Black doctor that talked to me did extra tests. He did the normal EKG, which always comes out perfectly because I've had this done several times this year. But he went one step further. He said, let's take some blood tests. When he came back, he found out that my troponin enzyme in my heart was 800. For those of y'all that know what that means, I know you're twisting right now. You're twisting around right now. Mine was 800. I have been complaining about different feelings in my heart now for over a year and a half. I've gone to cardiologists, my PCPs and everything. They all do the general EKG, and that's it. That's it. That's all. So I had no expectation of having to stay in the hospital and 2 days later get 2 stents put in my heart and being told I was on the verge of a heart attack. That's why I say thank you for Black doctors, because this gentleman had enough wherewithal to say, look, let me just go one step further. Okay, it's commonly known that she's diabetic, she's African American, she's complaining of heart problems. Perhaps there's something more to this than meets the eye. And like I said, this has been going on for 1.5 years, 1.5 years. My arteries didn't get clogged in the last 6 months. This could have been stopped long ago or reverted long ago, but I kept telling that I was doing fine. This is why I'm upset. This is why I'm mad. And tune in next time for another complaint I have about my insurance. You're going to love this one, what they did after my surgery.
We need more black doctors. I'm telling you, we need more black doctors. If you're black and you're thinking of going to medical school or you already are there, you need to keep going. Because I can tell how much it means to patients when I walk into the room and they see a black woman. It's so beautiful because I work in a part of town where there's actually not that many black people. There's certainly not that many black doctors. So my patients really just aren't expecting a black woman to walk in. They absolutely love it that someone who looks like them and is ready to advocate for them just walked in the door with a white coat. And I honestly just feel like I see my black patients exhale just a little bit. That's why it's so important that we keep fighting to be in these roles. That's why representation is so important. So if you're black in medicine, thinking about going into medicine, let this be your sign to keep going, because even though it's insanely hard at times, what we're doing is so important. Let me know what stage of medical training you're at in the comments. And if you need any help, myself and all the other black doctors in the comments will help you.
So let me tell you a story of how doctors that are black can even deal with biases when going to doctor. Today, me and my husband went to urgent care because he was dealing with issues with his ear. He had an appointment. However, nobody greeted us when we walked in. There was an MA that was sitting in the front desk and he did not say hello. He didn't say good morning. He didn't tell us that we had to check in, register, anything. We just sat down. It was complete silence. Eventually called his name and he was like, Rob, you have a $68 copay. And that was it. All right, we paid it. So we sat down. Typically, I don't like going to the room with my husband, but this time I was like, you know what? I'm gonna walk in with you because I just don't feel too good about this place. He asked him a few questions, past medical history, social history. There was a few questions I knew he missed, but I also try not to step on any toes. So the doctor came in, she was nice. She asked a little more questions and, you know, she ultimately gave us what the diagnosis was. My husband mentioned that I was a doctor. She did bring up the fact that we have to go to ENT soon. So I did ask her, I said, how long do we have? Because we're moving soon to Connecticut because I start residency for anesthesiology. And she go, huh? And I said, yeah, I start residency at Yale for anesthesiology. She said, where? And I go, Yale. And she's like, oh, okay. He has a little bit of time. Then she proceeds to walk out and goes, we gotta hurry up and do this because she's going to anesthesiology school. Anybody who has matched or is a doctor know we don't call it anesthesiology school or dermatology school or family medicine school. We call it residency or, you know, she's a doctor or just those things. And as my colleague, I'm just like, okay, that was a little weird. And then when we were leaving, she was like, well, student, good luck in school. And I'm just like, I am not a student anymore. I'm a doctor and you know I'm not going to school. You know I'm going to residencies. It's just those small little nuances that I'm like, okay, I know you don't see me as your equal because you're saying all these little things that you know we don't call it. The hard part is knowing that even though you're going to be a doctor one day, I shouldn't have to tell people that those are my credentials for me to get respect when I go to the doctor. Every time I walk in, I don't want to have doctor written on my forehead for us to get the respect that is needed, that everybody should get regardless. I made this video for people to understand that no matter where you are in life, that sometimes you're still going to deal with those biases, those microaggressions. Understand who you are and understand everything it took to get here. Understand that you belong in every room and every space that you walk into.
The journey to becoming a doctor is one of the most demanding career paths in America. It takes years of education, medical school, clinical training, and long hours of caring for patients. Yet, throughout American history, many black physicians had to overcome obstacles beyond medicine itself. For decades, black students were excluded from many medical schools, hospitals, and professional organizations because of segregation and discrimination. Even after legal barriers began to fall, many black doctors continued to face doubts about their qualifications despite meeting the same rigorous standards as every other physician. History tells a different story. Black doctors have made groundbreaking contributions to medicine, improved healthcare in underserved communities, and cared for millions of patients across the country. From pioneering surgical techniques to leading medical research, their work has saved countless lives. That's why moments like this resonate with so many people. When someone is judged by skin color instead of knowledge and experience, it doesn't diminish the doctor's ability. It reveals the danger of prejudice. Supporting Black professionals means recognizing their achievements and refusing to let stereotypes overshadow years of hard work and dedication. But this story isn't just about one doctor. It's about what happens when reality challenges assumptions.